Okay, good morning, friends. I welcome you all to a batch of CA Intermediate Cost and Management Accounting. In short, it is called as CMA of new syllabus. And this batch is Amendment Batch 1. I have given it a name, Amendment Batch 1. And today's lecture is lecture number 1. And most of you know me, right? My name is CA Rakesh Agrawal. I'm the gold medalist in the subject of cost and management accounting. Most of you have studied with me earlier in the regular batch. Now in today's lecture, I will first explain what is the purpose of this amendment batch. So I'll first explain that and then we'll go ahead further. So just try to understand this. I have printed this in my notes also, that is preface or foreword to this amendment batch. What is the intention, why this batch is getting recorded? So dear student friends, ICAI had issued an updated study material in October 2020. Mind well, it is only an updated study material. It is made applicable from May 2021 examination and onwards. It means this study material will be applicable for May 2021 exam and all exams ahead till the time institute issues another updated study material that you and me don't know when institute will come out with another updated material. Now this study material led to a fear in the minds of students that ICAI has changed the syllabus. Now what happened? ICAI only changed the study material. And how students took it? Majority students took it as ICAI has changed the syllabus. No, my dear friends, ICAI has not changed the syllabus. It has only done the updation, that is correction in the study material. Now really speaking, there is no change in syllabus. Mind well, no change in syllabus. It is only an updation in the existing module to remove the previous errors. First of all, while issuing the new study material, whatever errors were earlier reported by the students to institute, those errors they have tried to remove, and they have added some questions and deleted some questions. But majority they have added only the question, but I have seen some deletions also they have done. Now the syllabus of your cost and management accounting subject doesn't change much like direct tax and indirect tax. You also know it better, my dear friends, basic costing principles are not going to change. Now I have been teaching from last 30 years, nothing has changed except some minor changes. But syllabus overall has remained the same in costing. It is going to be material cost, labor cost, overhead, job costing, batch costing, all this is going to remain the same. This is not a subject like direct tax or indirect tax which every year there will be some amendments, or even every now and then our government keeps on issuing certain notifications and the syllabus keeps on changing continuously. It's not like that. So there is no change in this syllabus, mind it well, syllabus has not changed. Now I will record each of these lectures, this amendment batch lectures, with small duration just to cover the updations of small durations so that you can finish one lecture in one sitting. My plan is to cover all new questions or whatever updation institute has done. I'll try to cover only those updations because this lecture is meant for the students of my regular batch, earlier batches. So for their convenience, I am going to record all minor changes or updations and extra questions, but I am going to do it in small duration lectures, right? Sometimes the lecture could be even for 45 minutes, 1 hour, it could be maximum 1.5 hours depending upon how much portion I am covering in that. And what I expect from you is when you sit for viewing these lectures, do it in one sitting. Do it in one sitting. And that's why I am recording it in small duration. If I record 3 hours lecture, I know you won't be able to sit for 3 hours on continuous basis. Now I have incorporated the new questions of this module in my version 3 batch. Now some of you might be aware that I have already launched my version 3 batch, and version 3 batch I am recording in Hindi plus English, version 3. So in that batch, version 3 batch, I have already covered these new questions. However, those who have studied with me earlier in version 1 or version 2 batch wanted to know and understand the new questions to update themselves. Now the students have already studied with me earlier, either through version 1 or through version 2 batch. They wanted to update themselves, and for their convenience I am recording this amendment batch 1, so that by viewing this batch itself you can get updated. You can get updated and become equal to version 3 batch or equal to that new study material. Now with the objective to update the previous batch students, I have planned to record this amendment batch 1. So this is the purpose, to update the students of version 1 and version 2 batch. For them I am recording this. I hope it will help you to not only update yourself, but will also help you to revise the subject. Two purposes will get fulfilled here. This batch no doubt will help you to update, but in the process of updations, as I will be going through chapter wise and I will be solving the new questions, indirectly it will become a revision batch also for you. So this batch will work as a updation batch as well as revision batch for you. You will be able to recollect and revise the subject. The only condition is that you should have already done the regular batch earlier. If you are studying the costing subject for the first time, then this batch is not for you. You won't understand anything, because whatever I am going to talk is based on whatever I have discussed earlier. Means I am assuming that you possess the basic knowledge of costing, then only you are fit for amendment batch 1, otherwise not. So it is not for first time students. Please remember, it is for those students who have already done the regular coaching either with me or with someone else. Right, I have written it here. However, you should be a student of regular batch. If you are a student of regular batch with me, with Rakesh Agarwal, nothing like it. You will understand it much better. But even if you have done it with someone else, I think you will be still able to understand this updated batch. But you should be a you should be a student of regular batch to understand this amendment batch. So I am repetitively saying, if you are the first timer student who is studying the costing subject for the first time, this batch is not for you. I have noticed certain errors in new module of ICAI. Actually, I also purchased the copy of new module which was issued in October, and I started scanning the entire module page by page to know what are the new questions or what changes institute has made as compared to the previous module. So I was sitting with previous module and with this module, new module. And what happened? I have noticed a lot of errors. It could be calculation error, there are some logical errors also, there are certain contradictions also, right? Means something is said at one place, something else is said in another chapter or another place. And I have shared all these errors with the board of studies of our institute. I made a list. I have noticed around 72 errors or areas of disputes, and I have reported all these to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Because before I am coming out with amendment batch, I have to scan it through entire study material. So I have purchased that copy and I have gone through it. Now ICAI may issue a corrigendum to module in future. Corrigendum means correction. Whenever there is an error, there is a habit of issuing corrigendum. Corrigendum is correction to previous module. So they may issue a corrigendum in future if they take care of my suggestion. I have sent my suggestions to the institute. If institute listens to it, if institute likes it, then only they will come out with a corrigendum on their new module in future. I don't know, it is not in my hand. I have done my work, I have reported everything to the institute. What institute will do? Institute will only decide, not me. So in future you will find some corrections issued on website of the institute. However, to bring it to your notice, I am also sharing my observations about these errors with you, and it is printed at the end in these notes itself. What I have done? See, as I said, whether institute will come out with the corrigendum or not, I am not sure. How you will come to know? What happens? A student feels that whatever is printed in the module is correct because institute treats the module as Gita, as Quran, as Bible. Though it is not so, with due respect to the institute. But students treat it as Bible, students treat it as a Gita and Quran. And they feel that whatever is written in module is correct and whatever I am teaching is wrong. But it may not always be true, my dear friends. So what I have done? What will happen while teaching? I may do certain corrections, but there are still errors in the module. Now those intelligent students who will study from the module, they will they will ask me a query or they will send me an email that, sir, something else is written in the module, you have taught something else. So what I have done? To bring to your notice whatever errors are there, to bring it to your notice, I have already shared it on my website. First of all, my website address is printed below, just check. On every slide you will find this website address, www.carakeshagarwal.in, and not only here, you will find it on every page of your notes. On every page, on right hand side corner, on the top right hand side corner, you will find this website address. If you go to this website address, under student corner, you will find the errors. I have shared same file which I shared with the institute, I have shared with you on my website. Plus what I have done, I have included those observations about the errors in the module with these notes itself. Means the notes which you are having in your hand, in that also I have printed it at the end. I will show you those notes also, don't worry. Now we are providing you amendment batch 1 notes in PDF format. Means we are going to give you a soft copy of these amendment batch notes. I have got it printed, I am just showing it to you. What I did just for teaching purposes in the classroom, I have got it printed, right. So this is the amendment batch notes. I will show the soft copy also to you. So we will be sharing a soft copy with you, right, of these amendment batch notes. Now please get it printed. Please get it printed and keep it in front of you for better understanding. Like I have got it printed and I have kept it here, right. I request you also to get it printed. What will happen if you don't print it? It will hardly incur the cost. You will hardly incur the cost of 100 rupees on it, 50 to 100 rupees, depending upon how much the printer is charging you. See, the questions are printed in these notes and solutions I will be discussing here. Now if you don't have the question in front of you, how you will understand the solution? So sometimes students make this error that, okay, I have got a soft copy. So don't do that. Use this soft copy, get it printed from somewhere or print it on your printer if you have at home, right, or from the office, and keep it in front of you, right. So while I am discussing these amendment batch lectures, please keep this printed copy in front of you for better understanding. Let's have a look at this PDF notes. I will just take you through the PDF notes because daily you will be using it. So I will just take you through it. Check. This is the index page of our notes. This is chapter number. This CN stands for chapter number 1, 2, 3, 4. How many questions I have covered in that chapter and the page numbers. Like in basic concepts, there is not much to write because nothing has changed. So it's just one page. Then in material cost chapter, there are 5 new questions which are lying on page in material cost chapter, second chapter. 5 questions are there lying from page 2 to 6. In labor cost, there are only 2 new questions which are lying on page 7 and 8. In overheads topic, again there are only 2 new questions which are there on page 9 and 11. Activity based costing, right, 2 questions and so on. So this I have made a list, right, this is the list. And here last one which I was saying, errors in this October 2020 module. Naturally it does not have questions, right, but it has got the errors, page wise errors from the module. It is lying from page 45 to 55. So here I have printed at the end all the errors of the institute, page wise, point wise. So this is what it is. This is about me, right? Majority of you know it was already printed in your regular batch notes. For the new students, I have printed it again about me. If you want to know more about me, you can just have a look to understand your faculty more. This is our website, my dear friends. Right, and see, this is my principle, right? I believe education is not merely getting a degree, but it is gaining knowledge. This is my basic principle of teaching. This is my email. In case of difficulty, if you have encountered, you may ask the query only through email, not through phone call, not through WhatsApp. So difficulties will be taken care through this email address. Then this is preface which I am discussing with you, preface to amendment batch 1, which I am already discussing with you. Again, I have given my email and website address here, and from here this starts, basic concepts and all. I'll just reduce the focus. So this is your basic cost concepts chapter. And so on. Okay, in this there is no new question. Then there is material cost chapter, second chapter. Right? Anyway, so I won't take much of your time. I'll just take you at the end. This is what we are going to discuss here in the classroom. Don't worry. I'll just take you at the end. Just a quick go through of your notes. You'll just get an idea. We are going to go through each and every page, no doubt about it. Right? We are going to go through each and every page. So these are the questions. I am just taking you to those errors which I have noticed. See, here are the errors which I have reported, errors in the module which I have reported to the institute. Right. Now check this. See what I have done, how I have reported the errors. Like serial number, module page number is chapter 1, module page number, this exact point number where this error is there, then material cost and so on. And you will notice I was telling you there are 72 areas which I have pointed out in the new module. Check here total how many errors I have noticed. This it is here 72. There are total 72 points which I have pointed out where errors are there. Okay, my dear friends. So this is almost the last page, and at the end page you have that my famous poem, Hindi poem, Haar Nahi Hoti, which was there in your regular notes also. Okay, dear friends. So we'll start with our discussion again. So we just had a look at the PDF notes just now, a quick look or a brief look, and as I told you, please get it printed using the soft copy. Now I am recording these lectures in 100% English. These lectures will be recorded in 100% English. Now why? Because my previous versions, version 1 and 2 were also recorded in 100% English. So those who have purchased my previous versions, they purchased it just because I was teaching it in English. So for them, I am recording this amendment batch also in English, because in some part of our country, there are people who don't understand Hindi. So they find it very difficult to understand me. Therefore, I am continuing with English. Those who love to listen to me in Hindi, those who are interested to listen to me in Hindi, that is my explanation is in Hindi, but slides presentation is in English only, notes are in English. But those who would love to listen to me in Hindi, they may purchase version 3. It is now available for sale on our website. Because version 3 is Hindi plus English. Hindi plus English. We jokingly call it as Hinglish. The mixture of Hindi and English is version 3. Now let me make one thing very clear, that version 3 students, intermediate version 3 students, do not need to buy this amendment batch 1. This amendment batch 1 is not for version 3 students. They need not buy, because the questions covered in this amendment batch are already included in version 3 batch notes. See, version 3 notes I have prepared after the new module came in. Are you getting it? After the new module was published, I have prepared version 3 notes and I am recording version 3 after new module. But version 1 and 2 batches were recorded before this module was issued, right? Therefore, this is suitable only for version 1 and 2 students. Version 3 students don't need it, and they should not worry that whatever you have covered here, will it be covered in our batch? Yes, version 3 already includes the questions covered in amendment batch 1. Is it clear? So, amendment batch 1 is only for version 1 and version 2 students. I am making it very, very clear. Any suggestions to make further improvement are always welcome on my email given in the notes. With this, friends, we will start with the first chapter, basic cost concepts. And remember well, this is only amendment batch. I am only going to discuss whatever is new. Don't be under the impression the whole costing will be taught to you from A to Z. Not at all. If you want everything from A to Z, buy version 3, in which everything is covered from basic cost concepts. So here only new things will be covered. Now this is a theory chapter. Basic cost concepts is basically a theory chapter and nothing much has changed in it. Really speaking, there is no change in basic cost concepts, but at few places minor modification is done by the institute, so I will discuss that. However, I would like to discuss two new concepts with you in this amendment batch. Everything printed earlier in the notes is as it is applicable, only at two places I will discuss something. And you don't have to write all this because all this is printed here, please remember. You will be only writing the answers. When we will start solving the practical questions, you will be only writing the answers in your notebook. So please prepare one notebook, Fullscape notebook of 200 pages. Please prepare that, because these notes contain the theory and unsolved questions. These notes contain unsolved questions. We'll be solving the questions here in the classroom. So you have to sit with the notebook, pen, calculator, right? And you have to keep solving with me. Is that clear? So you will need a notebook of 200 pages for writing the answers. Right? Theory you don't have to write because it is already discussed or printed here. Okay. Now let us try to remember, there was a concept of responsibility center which we discussed in the classroom. We had discussed 4 types of responsibility centers, that is cost center, revenue center, profit center and investment center, if you remember. In the classroom we discussed the responsibility center. The in charge of that responsibility center is held accountable for some performance if the performance of that responsibility center is judged on the basis of cost, that what should be the cost and what is actual cost. If this is the criteria to judge the performance of that particular department, then it is called cost center. If the criteria to judge the performance is revenue generated by that department, then that department is called revenue center. If the criteria to judge the performance is profit, how much profit that department or division or branch has earned, then we call that department or division as profit center. And if ROI, if you remember, return on investment is the criteria to judge the performance, then we call it as investment center. This you know from your previous background. Okay. So this is nothing new. This was already discussed. However, Institute has divided cost center in further 2 parts. So we will discuss only those 2 parts. The cost center is further divided in 2 parts by Institute, and they have given it a name, standard cost center and discretionary cost center. The names given are standard cost center and discretionary cost centers. Now what is it? So we'll discuss. Standard cost center. It is the cost center where input output relationship is clear and measurable. Any department where you can compare the input output cost, you can calculate it very easily, then such a cost center is called standard cost center. Hence, these cost centers are used for variance analysis purpose, and the manager is held responsible for adverse cost variances. Now, as you are the students of regular batch, you know what is variance analysis, that is standard costing. In standard costing, we compare standard cost with actual cost. And if this variance is adverse, then that center in charge is held accountable, responsible for that adverse variance. Now, if you remember, we used to calculate a standard cost for actual output. Standard cost for actual output. It means we have a clear-cut input-output relationship. It means for this much output, this should be the cost. Cost is the input. The input could be raw material, input could be human efforts, that is labor, and this much efforts, this much should be the output. Where this is possible to measure input-output relationship, or how much cost will be incurred for this much output. Where this type of relationship is possible and clear, then we call it as a standard cost center. And these standard cost centers are used for variance analysis, and the person, the in charge of the department is held responsible for adverse cost variance. Now you can correlate it with your standard costing. Then what is discretionary cost center? It is the cost center where input output relationship is not clear and the output is not measurable. These are those cost centers where you don't have a clear cut relationship between this is input and this is output. This relationship is not possible. Especially the departments which do not produce the goods. Means in production department, input output relationship is that way clear. But other than production department, it's very difficult. Hence, the actual cost is compared with only budgeted cost for an activity. Here you can compare actual cost only with budgeted cost. You cannot calculate standard cost for actual output. See, there is a difference between standard cost for actual output and budgeted cost. Like your accounts and finance department, where chartered accountants work. Now, in accounts and finance department, can you say this relationship that for this much work, this will be the cost? So, what in that case, what you can do? You can budget a total cost for the year, that in 1 year we will spend so much money on this department, and then you will compare it with actual cost. That is what you can do. So, you can compare budgeted cost with actual cost, but you cannot calculate standard cost for actual output. That is discretionary cost center. Some examples are given, for example, research and development department, advertisement departments, accounts department. Now, in these departments also we incur the cost, but we don't have measurable output. Therefore, these are treated as discretionary cost center. Is this clear? So, cost center is divided in two parts by institute now. Standard cost center, where input output relationship is measurable, and discretionary cost center, where this relationship is not clear. Now, institute has added some use of information technology in cost accounting. See, IT is the key word nowadays, information technology. So, everywhere we are making use of information technology nowadays. We call it as computer or digital era. So, institute has added one paragraph on how we can make use of information technology in cost accounting, right? What are the uses of IT in cost accounting? So, I will just discuss this. Again, whatever I am discussing is already printed in your notes. So, don't worry. As I told you, I have saved your writing efforts. Just try to understand it. Now, with the expansion of e-commerce and increasing competitive business environment, information technology is becoming an integral part of each activity in the organization, including cost and management accounting. Now, what is this word integral part? Integral means inseparable part. Like hand, eyes, right, legs are inseparable part of body, that is integral part of body. In the same manner, today IT has become integral part of any activity of the organization, including your costing department. So everywhere IT is influencing each and every activity and each and every department. Even see, I am teaching you through using the technology, using the computer, laptop. See, I am writing this on the screen and getting it recorded. So it's a technology and it will be uploaded on Google Drive, from where you will be downloading, and you will be using a software through which you will be viewing these lectures. It means IT is affecting each and every walk of life. So cost and management accounting is not an exception, that is also affected by information technology. Information technology has changed the cost and management accounting functions dramatically with the introduction of Enterprise Resource Planning System, ERP. Most of you might be aware of ERP. ERP is a software, my dear friends. ERP is the name of a software which includes all functions of the organization. Means one software bundled with all features is called ERP. Software companies prepare this ERP depending upon the need and requirement of your organization. Like today, any bank, it functions on ERP platform only, right? They call it as core banking solution. That is the name they give, core banking, but it's a ERP basically. So ERP is that software which includes all activities. Means you don't have to buy different softwares for different purposes. You just get one software prepared for your organization from software company, and that software will take care of each and every requirement of your organization. This well integrated software designed for your organization is called Enterprise Resource Planning. So it's an advancement of IT system only. I would say, on the contrary, it is the best gift of IT, information technology, to this commercial world. The new industrial revolution in the form of digital innovation, new revolution is digital innovation, has laid more emphasis on digitization and automation of business processes. Many things are getting automated nowadays over a period of time. Like if you visit a mall, like what Super Bazaar or Big Bazaar type of things, you buy something, the person is holding a handheld sensor. That sensor picks up that item's details also and price also. He just keeps sensing the items which you have purchased, and invoice gets generated. The moment invoice gets generated, sales entry is recorded in the books of account and stock level is reduced because that much stock is sold out. GST is calculated. All this happens automatically. This is called automation of business processes. Accounting, stock levels, everything is done. If the system is more advanced, what will happen? If stock level goes down and reaches to reorder level, immediately an order will be triggered to the supplier. This much also can be automated. So the supplier will get the purchase order. So it will get triggered automatically. All this is called automation of business process. It helps to have better control over the cost and to maintain your market competitiveness. Those who are using information technology will be ahead of their competitors. So you become more competitive and cost remains in your control. Cost accounting system has seen lot of savings in terms of time, money and efforts. Lot of time, money and efforts are saved. The impact of IT in cost accounting may include the following. Now, what are the impacts of information technology on cost accounting? Some examples are given. Number one, after the introduction of ERP, different functional activities get integrated, and as a consequence, a single entry into the accounting system provides custom-made reports for every purpose and saves an organization from preparing different set of documents. As I told you, ERP is a software which includes all functions. Now, if you are a Big Bazaar or you are a Amazon, let us say, or Flipkart, and you are selling thousands of varieties of products on your website, all things are automated using ERP platform or ERP software. Now, you have got so many vendors. Vendors means the sellers who sell their goods on your platform. If you want vendor wise report, which vendor has sold how many products in a particular month or in a particular week, that report is ready. If you want product wise list, that how many mobiles got sold by so many vendors together, what was the sale of mobile, that list is ready. It means you name it, you get. You want a range of product from rupees 5,000 to 10,000. How many products got sold? List is ready. It means once the entry is done, only one entry, single entry. Once it is there in the system, you can generate the reports in the way you want. Any type of report can be generated from that software, and that is the beauty of ERP. And you don't have to make entries again and again, neither you have to prepare different type of documents again and again. So your legal compliance department will need what is the GST. Now GST could be different for different products. The GST rate could be different. They will get item wise list, or in GST you have got HSN code, harmonized system nomenclature code, if you have learned it. So it is HSN based. They will get HSN wise report. You say it is available. And it is being done when you place the order online. When the moment you place the order online for that product, an order is confirmed, it gets recorded in the system. A move towards paperless environment can be seen where documents like bill of material, material requisition note, goods receipt note, labor utilization report, etc. are no longer required to be prepared in multiple copies. If you remember, in regular batch we had discussed that prepare bill of material copy, send one copy to storekeeper, send one copy to purchase manager, keep one copy with you. Prepare material requisition note. If you remember, material requisition is the request for getting material issued from stores. Now you are a production department, you have prepared material requisition note. One copy will go to storekeeper, one copy will go to accounts department for making the entry. Now you don't need all these multiple copies. It is there in the software, in the digital format. In the digital format, you have sent the request. It is there in the system. So the paperless office and paperless environment we are moving into. The related department can get e-copy from the system. So any department which wants to view it, it is available as a e-copy. So we are slowly moving to paperless environment nowadays. Number 3. Now just one thing I remembered, how paperless environment. Even I told you that we will be providing you the soft copy, PDF copy of this. So we are trying to save the printing, and that activity here, printing and dispatch, it is saved. Anyway, but for you, as I said, you will have to print it at your end. Why? For a simple reason, questions will be here and answers will be recorded here. So they will be at different places. Therefore, you should have question in front of you. That is why you have to print. If suppose it's only a legal document which you want to save, means it is not to be referred again and again, then you could have saved this as a soft copy with you. Then you don't have to print it. So printing is done only when it is required, otherwise not. Now information technology will help the internet and intranet. Information technology with the help of internet and intranet are helping in resource procurement and mobilization. Now what this means? What is internet and intranet? Internet, all of you know. Internet means when our computer system gets connected with the computer system outside the world, means with somebody else's computer system, it is called internet. Intranet, this intranet is for communication within the organization. All big software companies like TCS, like Infosys are all big organizations where you have thousands of employees, and these thousands or lakhs of employees are spread all across the world. So for internal communication within their organization, they use intranet. Intranet is for internal communication. Internet is with communication with outsider. Now this use of internet and intranet helps in resource procurement and resource mobilization. Example is given. For example, production department can get material from stores without issuing the material requisition note physically. Similarly, purchase order can be initiated to the suppliers with the help of internet. See, earlier we used to print the purchase order, print it on letterhead, then send it through courier. It is not required. Here the purchase order is generated, e-copy is sent to the supplier, so it reaches immediately. So it helps you to procure the resources, means buying the material. This enables the entity to shift towards a just-in-time approach of inventory management. If you remember, we had discussed this concept, just-in-time, in our regular batch. Just-in-time is raw material arrives in your factory just before start of production. So for JIT system to work, you should make use of information technology only, without which JIT system cannot work. So the backbone of JIT system is IT, information technology. cost information for cost center wise means department wise, or cost object means product or service, is ascertained with accuracy in a timely manner. All the cost data is available in a timely manner. Either you want department wise means cost center wise, or product wise, that is cost object wise. It's very quickly available. Each cost center and cost object is codified. For computer system you have to generate code number for each cost object, for each cost center. So cost object is codified and all related costs are assigned to the cost object and cost center using assigned codes. This automates the cost accumulation and ascertainment process. So you have to accumulate the cost to ascertain, means to calculate it. All this is automatic now. The cost information can be customized as per the requirement. I have already told you. Customize means the way you need information, in that manner you can extract the information from the system. For example, a manager is able to receive information job wise, batch wise, process wise, cost center wise, whatever way you want, information is available in the system and you can extract the reports, custom made reports. Uniformity in preparation of reports, budgets and standards can be achieved with the help of IT. Uniformity means as the report is generated by the system, there is a uniform format in which the report gets generated. So there is a uniformity in the approach, in the reporting approach, in the budgeting approach due to IT. ERP softwares play an important role in bringing uniformity irrespective of location, irrespective of currency, language and regulations, and that is the beauty of ERP. Just imagine a company, TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. Some of your friends, relatives might be working in TCS. Now TCS has got the offices all over the world, not only in India, all over the world. It means locations are different locations. In each country the currency might be different, the language used might be different, the regulations, please remember rules, regulations or laws are different in different countries. But still, when we want the quarterly report to be published by TCS, quarterly report means once in every 3 months, you will find within 15 days from the end of the month. What I am saying, within 15 days from the end of the month, their quarterly reports are ready, irrespective of location, currency, language. If we want to do it in the older fashion in which we did the audit, it won't be possible in 2 years to merge all these reports of different currencies and different languages and different regulations into one. It was very difficult job in those days when manual accounting and auditing was done. I am talking about the era of manual accounting and auditing where we did the articleship. Today it is done at a click of mouse using ERP software, because ERP software is common all across the world. So once TCS has adopted or used a software, that software will be used at all locations. Therefore, there is a uniformity in the approach. Cost and revenue variance reports are generated on real-time basis, almost on daily basis, your cost variances and revenue variances, which enable the management to take control measures immediately. If you report the deviation, variance is a difference, deviation between standard and actual. If these reports are generated quickly, what will happen? Management will swing into an action and will take the action immediately. In older days, what used to happen? Whenever that variance analysis is done and it is reported to management, then management will take action. Now variance analysis may be done once in 3 months, once in 6 months. So your decision is also delayed by 6 months. Here it is generated on almost daily basis. The computer system will give you daily variance report. IT enables an entity to monitor and analyze each process of manufacturing or service activity closely to eliminate non-value added activities. This IT system will help you to analyze that whatever activities you are carrying out in an organization, whether that activity adds some value to the customer or doesn't. If it is a value added activity, then continue. If it is non-value added activity, then eliminate that activity. The above are just examples of few areas where IT helps in cost accounting. These are just few areas where you can take help of IT. Actually, if you start writing, it would be paragraph after paragraphs. Each and every day and each and every activity today is governed by information technology. Now this discussion I did for just a short note question. If a short note question comes, what are the uses of IT in cost and management accounting? You should be able to write something. Therefore, I discussed it. Friends, this was the only new thing from basic cost concept chapter. So we move to another chapter, that is chapter 2, material cost. Now what I will do today, I will discuss some theory part of material cost, and questions probably will start tomorrow, not today. So I'll just discuss some part which is printed in your notes. So we will first discuss some new theory of this chapter before we start solving the new questions which are based on material cost topics. So I'll just discuss the theory. Now you know the concept of landed cost of material. We have discussed it in the regular batch. This concept is not new. Only few points are added which I will discuss. Landed cost is the cost at which material lands in our godown. All of you know this. So we'll revise that concept and then I will discuss few new points. The general principle in determination of raw material cost is that all cost incurred in bringing the inventories into their present location and condition should be added to the cost of material purchased. The total of all such cost and not just the price paid to the supplier. It is not just purchase price but all cost incurred to bring the inventory into its current location and condition. All these costs constitutes the landed cost of material. This you already know. It's only a revision. As I told you, this batch will not only help you to update, it will also help you to revise. Now landed cost of material generally consists of, means what is included in calculation of landed cost. Invoice price, that is purchase price, net of trade discount. You have to deduct the trade discount and calculate net purchase price. Then cost of containers and packing charges are included. Freight and forwarding charges, we call it as carriage inward, that is included. Transit insurance, right, for transportation of goods from supplier's place to our place. Duties and taxes, that is GST, etc., right, are added. Only GST, we'll discuss that. Now necessary deductions and adjustments may be made for credit allowed for return of containers. If containers are returnable, then you have to deduct that credit. GST credit, we call it as input tax credit wherever applicable. If it is available, then you have to deduct. And then you will get the net cost of material purchased determined as above. Should be used for entry in the materials, entry of materials in the priced stores ledger. I hope you remember the stores ledger, date, particulars, receipts, issue, balance column. In receipts you have 3 column quantity rate amount, issue 3 column quantity rate amount, balance column quantity rate amount. Now when we purchase the material, we enter it on receipt side of stores ledger. This much you will be able to recollect. So when we enter it on receipt side of stores ledger, the rate at which we enter in the stores ledger is the landed cost of material. Right? This was also discussed in the regular batch. Now the item wise details are discussed below. Now institute has prepared an item wise list. I am discussing all these items. Some of them are already covered by us in our classroom discussion in the previous batches, but still I will take you through all items. Few items might be new for you. One is discount and subsidy. Trade discount. All of you know trade discount is deducted from the purchase price if it is not shown as deduction in the invoice. If supplier has already deducted it from the invoice, then you don't have to do anything. But if he has not shown it as a deduction in the invoice, then you have to deduct the trade discount. Quantity discount. Like a trade discount, quantity discount is also shown as deduction in the invoice. It is deducted from the purchase price if not shown as deduction. Quantity discount and trade discount is actually one and the same thing, but institute has written two separate things. Quantity discount is when you buy more quantity, supplier is offering certain discount to you. If he has already deducted from your purchase price in the invoice, very good. If he has not deducted, sorry, then you will deduct it while calculation of landed cost. Cash discount. We have discussed this in the classroom. Cash discount is not deducted from the purchase price. It is treated like interest and finance charge and it is ignored. So we deduct only trade discount and quantity discount from purchase price, not the cash discount. subsidy, grant or incentive. Any subsidy, grant or incentive received from government. Government sometimes give you some concession, that is called subsidy or grant or incentive. Or from other sources also, either government is giving you some grant, subsidy or any other sources like local authority or state government, then they are deducted from the cost of purchase. But please remember, this grant or subsidy should be related to purchase of input material, then only. Like if you are buying the input raw material from an underdeveloped area or from Khadi Gramodyog people, right, from tribal area, and government wants to promote that, and government says if you buy from these suppliers or small traders, we will give you some 10% subsidy. So if the subsidy or grant is related to purchase of raw material, then only you will deduct it, because your cost of purchase gets reduced to that extent, because government is providing you some help. Now duties and taxes. Road tax, toll tax, nowadays we pay toll taxes. So road tax, toll tax is paid by the buyer. If we are paying it, then it is included in the cost of purchase. This road tax or toll tax is paid to bring the material from supplier to our premises. So it will be included in the cost of purchase. Now integrated goods and service tax, basically GST, this we had discussed in the classroom. GST could be integrated GST, state GST and central GST. For all, provision is same. I am discussing only one for discussion purpose. Integrated goods and service tax is paid on interstate supply of goods and provision of services. Interstate means when goods gets transferred or transported from one state to another, then IGST is levied. And if it is within the same state like Maharashtra to Maharashtra, then CGST and SGST is levied. All of you are aware, that is central GST and state GST. Now it is excluded from the cost of purchase if credit for the same is available. We discussed it in the classroom. We get the input tax credit on for GST. So if that input tax credit is available, then it should be excluded. Now unless mentioned specifically, it should not form part of cost of purchase. What this sentence means? Here institute has made one thing clear. In the question, if you find GST, by default you will assume that you will get input tax credit. So you will not include GST in the cost of purchase, and if it is already included, then you will exclude it. Right? Unless specifically mentioned, if the question tells you specifically that ITC is not available, ITC means input tax credit is not available, then only it will form part of cost of purchase. Means you will include GST as a purchase cost, that is as a landed cost, only when specifically written in the question that ITC is not available. Otherwise, by default, you will assume that ITC is available, and if input tax credit is available, then we exclude GST in the calculation of landed cost. And same treatment is applicable for state GST also and central GST. Naturally, only state and central GST is for intra-state sale, that is within the state, and IGST is for interstate sale. But provision is same for both. It means generally IGST, CGST, SGST will be excluded from landed cost unless question tells you specifically that credit is not available, then you will include it in landed cost. Okay. Now basic custom duty, in case if we import the goods from outside the country, then at the time of import custom duty is payable. So basic custom duty is paid on import of goods from outside India, and it is added with the purchase cost. So whenever you will import the consignment, you will add the customs duty, that is called basic custom duty. Penalty and charges. Demurrage is a new word. Demurrage is a penalty imposed by the transporter for delay in uploading or offloading of material. It is an abnormal cost and not included with cost of purchase. Getting the point? I'll explain a little bit. Suppose you have hired a truck to take the goods from supplier's place to this place. So suppose you want to bring the goods from Mumbai to Pune. So at Mumbai, the transporter has already sent the truck. Truck is ready. But your loading of goods got delayed. Therefore, truck had to wait for 5 hours. Means truck is standing idle over there. So the transporter's time and vehicle is remaining idle because due to some problem your loading got delayed. Or let us assume that truck got loaded, it has come to Pune factory. Our factory is in Pune. But here you don't have the workers to download. There was a strike or workers were not available. It was a holiday. So truck is standing in your factory but not getting unloaded. Now unless you unload, that is offload the goods, the truck cannot go back. And the truck is held for 10 hours. 10 hours it is standing idle. So what transporter will do? For delay, he will charge you some penalty, and that penalty is called demurrage. See, penalty is always charged for some abnormal cases, and therefore it is never included in cost of purchase of material. Means you will not consider it in landed cost of material, that is demurrage charges. You must have experienced this even if you hire a cab from Ola, Uber, right, and cab arrives on time, and then you are telling him to wait for some more time, and you are 1 hour late to get into the cab. What will happen? They'll charge you something other than the traveling cost. They'll charge you something, that extra cost, that is waiting charges, which they call. That waiting charge in passenger transport, it's a word, waiting charges. In goods transport, the same concept is called demurrage charges. It is nothing but waiting, right? Your vehicle is waiting for some reason. Then detention charges / fines. Detention charges / fines are imposed for non-compliance of rule or law or by any statutory authority, It is an abnormal cost again and not included in the cost of purchase. As you are not complying with the rules, like your truck is overloaded than the law applicable, you have loaded more, or the goods are coming out of the truck which is not as per the law, and therefore your truck is detained, right, by the police authorities, traffic police, and they have levied certain fines. And if that charge is borne by the buyer, suppose, then that cost will be treated as abnormal cost and not included in your landed cost. And if the fine is paid by the transporter, then it is transporter's problem, not our problem. But if mistake is ours, and due to our mistake we had to pay some detention charges or fines to any legal authority, then that is abnormal cost, charge it to costing P&L account. Don't add in the cost of purchase of raw material. Penalty of any type is again not included in the cost of purchase, because penalty is always for violation of law, and therefore penalty is treated as abnormal cost, not included. Now let's go to some other expenditures. Insurance charges. Insurance charges are paid for protecting the goods during transit. It is a transit insurance, not life insurance. Otherwise, students understand only one type of insurance. Insurance means life insurance. It is not life insurance. It is insurance of goods getting transported from one place to another place. So in case if in the journey there is an accident or damage to the goods, we will get compensation from the insurance company. So it is only for protection during transit. And this is a normal cost. So it is added with the cost of purchase. With the cost of purchase means in purchase cost you have to add this cost to get the landed cost. So everywhere the wording of the institute is that add this cost in the purchase cost, or do not add or deduct it from purchase cost. So finally we will arrive at landed cost. Commission or brokerage paid. Commission or brokerage is paid, is added with the cost of purchase. Suppose to buy some goods, you have hired the brokers. Through them you are purchasing the goods, right? Because it is not directly available to you, or you don't know the supplier. So in such case, you will hire the services of commission agents, pay them commission or pay them brokerage, and then it gets added with the cost of purchase. Simple example, whenever you want to buy equity shares, I am giving some another example. Whenever you want to buy equity shares from share market, you have to buy it through share broker only. Yes, you have to buy it from share broker only. So suppose you have purchased a share at rupees 100, rupees 800, you have purchased a share from share market, and he has added a brokerage of 8 rupees. So your purchase cost will become 808 per share. because in that business you cannot buy shares directly from the share market, it has to be purchased through share broker. So his commission and brokerage is always added in the cost of purchase. So similarly here it is added in the cost of purchase of goods if you are using the services of commission agents. Freight inward or carriage inward, naturally transportation charges, carriage inward is added with the cost of purchase as it is directly attributable to procurement of material. You know all this. As I told you, we have discussed landed cost concept in the classroom. It is not that we have not discussed. Only few new points have come up. Cost of containers, you know, treatment of cost of containers is as follows. In case of non-returnable container, the cost of container is added with the cost of purchase. We have discussed this. Returnable container, if the containers are returned and their costs are refunded, if full cost is refunded, then the cost of container should not be considered in the cost of purchase. If your full cost is getting refunded, whatever is added by supplier, if you return the container, he will deduct, then don't add it. And if you have added by mistake, then deduct it for returnable container. Now, if the amount of refund on returning the container is less than the amount paid, then only the shortfall is added with the cost of purchase. Meaning what? Suppose you are buying chemicals which comes in the plastic drums and the supplier charges you rupees 2000 per drum. It's a 200-liter drum, but it is returnable. So he will add in your invoice rupees 2000 per container, per drum. Now he says that if you return this container to me in good condition, I will refund you only 1500. Means he will charge you 2000, but he will refund you only 1500. Now you have got two options. Either add 2000 and deduct 1500 or only add the difference. That difference is called as a shortfall. So you will add only 500 in the landed cost. This we had discussed in the classroom. Are you getting it? If entire 2000 is refunded, then don't add 2000, don't deduct 2000. Ignore it. But if 2000 is charged and only 1500 per container is refunded, then only add 500 difference, that is shortfall you can add, right? Or you can add 2000 and deduct 1500. And for non-returnable container, you have to add the cost of purchase because there is no refund, because it is non-returnable. Shortage. Shortage in material are treated as follows. This is again based on normal and abnormal criteria. When you purchase the material, there is a shortage, suppose. In transit, the material received is short. Shortage due to normal reasons. Good units will absorb the cost of shortage due to normal reasons. Losses due to shrinkage, evaporation, normal breakage, or due to unavoidable conditions, means due to inherent nature of that raw material which you are buying, it gets shrinked, it gets evaporated, then this is treated as normal loss, and normal loss will be absorbed by good units. It means using inflated rate method. So suppose you have purchased the material 10,000 kg at the rate of rupees 20 per kg. Right? So you will take the cost of 10,000 kg at the rate of 20. However, out of 10,000 kg, due to normal loss, right, due to evaporation or normal breakage because of nature of material, 500 kg material is lost and you have received only 9,500 kg. So in the denominator, you will take 9,500 kg. It means 9,500 kg good units will absorb the entire burden of 10,000 kg, including the 500 kg lost. We have discussed this in the regular batch. If you remember, I had given you the example of that vegetable vendor. So it is the same thing. So normal loss is adjusted by good units by inflating the rate. And shortage due to abnormal reason, shortage of material which you are buying arises due to abnormal reasons such as mishandling of material, theft, breaking of bulk, accident, or due to any avoidable reasons, are not absorbed by good units. Losses due to abnormal reasons are always debited to costing, profit and loss account. This is common discussion in costing everywhere. Normal losses are adjusted in calculation of product cost. Abnormal losses are always transferred to costing P&L account. So this is common. So friends, let us stop here today. Right, today I have discussed only this much. In the next lecture, that is lecture number 2, we will solve some practical questions, right, on material cost topic. So, I am not starting with practical questions today. I have just restricted myself today to basic discussion, that is chapter 1. A preface also I have discussed the purpose of this batch, basic concepts and little theory of material cost topic. Remaining all discussion we will be doing in the next lecture. Okay friends, see you in the next lecture. Bye bye. Thank you.